Okay, great. This is session number 743, I think. For those of us that are keeping track, it's a joke. Session number three. Before we start, any questions on anything that we've done in the past few weeks? Anyone? I'm going to make suggestions for your questions. Anyone do their homework that wants to share how they did? Easier question. Who even remembers the homework? That's probably it. We should start there. Ah, there. Some people raise their hands. That's great. Who remembers anything? That's even trying to make the questions easier to answer. Anyone want to share how you do your meditation? Did you have the opportunity to use any of your breathing tools during the day? Anyone even remember what the breathing tools were? Feel free to take yourself off mute and speak your mind. It's a good opportunity to speak your mind.
Hmm.
Okay, everyone slow down. Don't be answering all at once. A little bit puts more pressure on me. Go ahead, Dayton. Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Perfectly. Thank you.
Great. I, uh, I, I've become aware that one of my great irritants has to do with lines and it's not having to wait in a line. I don't mind that. It's when other people cut into the line. Think traffic, I go berserk. I don't mind if I wave and somebody lets me in or they put their blinker in, but when they cut in front of me, my head explodes. And the same thing in airports. I don't mind waiting in line, but it's when it's time to board and everybody cuts in front of you that my head explodes. And I've been working on that. I promise I have. And and I've been struggling with what is it that is being violated. And I think what I've come up with is like everybody should wait their turn. I should wait my turn. Everybody should wait their turn. And if you don't wait your turn or if you cut in front of me, it means you don't respect me or respect the process. And the breathing has helped a great deal. I realize you can't meditate while you're driving, can't close your eyes and do that.
Mhm.
Might be a problem for me or the other driver. But the breathing exercise of hitting the pause and has been helpful. But I'm also wondering if you or anybody else might be able to suggest or provide some advice of when you get on one of these things that's deep seated. And I've realized I've had both of those for years. Any advice on how to continue to work with it to mitigate it or lessen its impact over time?
Yeah, that's a great one. I know waiting at the airport, because I used to
Oh,
travel quite a bit. And then, everyone starts to kind of hover,
yeah.
get closer and
Yes,
closer.
yes.
And then you're like this, and who's going to get on first and all that. That's a great opportunity. I
Yeah.
feel very, very, and I was traveling recently. And the good news is I feel less anxious, irritated today than a year ago.
Mm,
And certainly than 5 or 10 years ago. That's the good news.
okay.
It gets better. But the question, which you kind of answered a little bit, I want to look at it more, is what is being violated? What rules, what regulations, what requirements were you taught as a child or growing up that's being violated? And you named a few of them. Always be fair. That's not
Mhm.
fair. Always be respectful. That's not respectful. Um, be aware and pay attention to others. Damn
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
and the more that gets violated, the angrier we get. So what a great, so in fact, the last couple of times I was traveling and I was sitting there, what's the first thing that happens? Before you know it, we have that habit breaks in. Before you know it, you're feeling that before
Hmm.
you know it, it's
Yep.
there. And so it's good to go through those requirements and understand that that's what you were taught. That's what
Right.
you were taught. And we took on that habit and we took it very seriously.
Right.
And it's required, and I'm certainly fair, and I would never do that. The fact of the matter is, I've actually done it a few times myself. But when I do it,
Right.
it's okay.
There's a good reason. Yeah.
Yeah, this I
Yeah.
have a good, yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay,
Yeah.
whatever. But when someone else does it, so it's kind of we look at that stuff, and of course we do the breathing. And because I've had that habit, I've been traveling, let's say only 40, 50 years.
Right.
because I've had that habit 40, 50 years. Doing a couple of times of breathing should make it go away, right? No, not really. So it's a work in progress. But the good
Mm.
news is because you meditate, you have a better understanding of what's going on. And that's at least half the battle. So that's a great story. I love that story.
Okay.
And we've been there too. It's like I've never cut anyone off.
Yeah.
No, not me.
Right.
So um, good, good. Thank you for sharing that.
You bet.
So anyone remember what the habit is that we're trying to break? We're trying to break a habit, right? So we can become liberated, be enlightened, whatever, be better, feel better. What exactly, and I know I asked the same question last week, some of you may remember, but even if you don't, it's easy to forget. What is the habit we're trying to break? What are we doing here with this game called meditation, or when something happens to us that's irritated, annoying, and makes us angry? What is the habit? Anyone want to jump in there and make, yeah, go ahead.
I'll just throw it out there. At least I think what I'm trying to do is break habitual responses that are at the core of things that create suffering in my life.
Absolutely. I'm going to say it slightly differently,
Yep.
which is we place so much emphasis on our thoughts, on how we view ourselves, our
Mm.
self, which we'll talk more about tonight. And we have this very fixed view of how the world should be, a very sense of permanence.
Mhm.
We have a sense of deunification. I just made up that word, which is there's me, I, and then there's everyone else. And when the world turns out to be different than that, we get angrier. And the more requirements that get violated, the more permanent, the more we hold on to them, the
Mm.
greater the anger. So that is the trigger for our negative emotions. So we're trying to break that habit. The real habit is being attached to permanence and self. That's the real habit. That doesn't mean
Okay.
anything to anyone unless you took the last two classes, or not, if you're not a Buddhist, what do you mean permanence and self? But now you have to understand that's how we look at
Right.
it. That's how we kind of start to look at it. So, and along the way, we have this opportunity to add to our requirements list all those things that were required of us. We started to make lists a week or 2 weeks ago, add stuff because there's so much stuff that we were taught. Be on time, be respectful, be fair, treat others well, be quiet, don't be quiet, be loosey-goosey, be uptight, don't be uptight, whatever it is. It's a long, 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 long list. Because every single time something negative happens, and it happens all day long, you just don't realize it yet. That's when we get to look and say, that's the reason why. And eventually,
Mm.
like I promise you, next time you're at the airport, you'll probably still get that feeling, but you're going to be able to smile at it and go, oh, yeah, I know that one. That's a good one.
Mm.
So, anyone have a really great week? No problems this week? No, no negatives? Happens sometimes. Anyone have a good week? I had a great week. Okay, so here's what happens. As I mentioned last time, this is the recap, by the way, for those of you that don't know what I'm doing here. I like to spend the first 5 or 10 minutes recapping because you have to hear it several times before it sinks in. So if you had a great week, that's great. I sincerely, I feel I'm happy for you. I really am. But you probably didn't learn anything. So when something doesn't go our way, we can say, great, what an opportunity to learn and break a habit. Okay. Questions on meditation. How is it going? Anyone meditating once a day, twice a day, 15 times a day? Anyone meditating 3 minutes, 10 minutes? You don't have to give me the numbers, but is anyone doing it, not doing it? I like it, I hate it. This is okay. Everyone's doing it. Some shaking of the heads. Yes. Good. Thank you. Good.
Mhm.
Anyone want to share how it's going? Any questions? If not, I have plenty of questions. So, but anyone want to share? It's going well. It's not going well.
Well, I can share.
Thank you, Sam. Go ahead.
I do meditate every day for about a half an hour in the mornings. And following your comments from last week, the mornings work best for me. And I've been part of a meditation program that the Trigar Foundation, Mingur Rinpoche
Sure.
which has been great for me. And it has helped me in traffic, I have to say. they, but I wanted to say I really enjoyed your readings, and I'm really interested in the conversations we'll have about karma today, maybe later.
Ah, my favorite topic. Um, Good. Thanks for that feedback. I appreciate it. So I want to just briefly go because you're all so shy. Everyone's so shy. No one wants to talk. That's okay. No problem. Happy to talk. I'm going to share with you some of the feedback I get over the years. I've taught meditation for, I don't know, 30, 40 years now. My meditation programs, I'm going to brag for about a minute, 30 seconds, have been listened to by over 300,000 people. Plus, I've taught hundreds of people in person as well, over 5 million streams. So here's the feedback that I get from people that, first of all, I can't meditate. I can't. I can't meditate. You know how many times I've heard that? And I go, great, you're in the right place. And it's usually for two reasons. Reason number one is they've had the wrong teacher or the wrong voice if they're listening to a CD or a tape or a stream or whatever. The second reason is bad expectations. They have wrong expectations. So, oh, I thought I was going to feel calm. I can't get this out of my head. Hasn't changed my life. I've been meditating 2 weeks now. My life is still difficult, you know. So what we try to do is have no expectations. You want to have expectations, here's one you can have. If I meditate every day, once or twice a day for the next 5 or 10 years, then, and you can fill in the gap. That's your expectations. Like way, way, way out into the future. Um, because once you have expectations, it's going to be very hard to meet them. And they say comparison is the thief of joy. So we don't compare to yesterday. We don't compare to Joey and Susan, someone I read about. We don't do any of that. We just do what we have to do. I call it a game because I don't want to put pressure on you or on me. Just want to have a nice, happy experience or open myself to have that kind of experience. I get too many thoughts. Great, no problem. Doesn't matter. Just do it. No problem. I never make it to 10. That's okay. All good. No problem. I found that I stopped, I was counting and I noticed that I was counting up to 37. I stopped to go back. I forgot to go back to one when I got to 10. Okay, not a problem. I fell asleep. We already answered that last couple of weeks. I got confused by the count. For those of you that don't remember, we're doing an inhale and exhale very naturally, and then comes the count. One, inhale, exhale, two, make it up to 10, go back to the beginning. Some people count before the breath. That's okay. Not a problem. All these things, they don't really matter. What matters is whether you do it or not. Here's another one that I hear. How do I get better? I'm at a plateau. That's usually for people that have been meditating for a while. My answer to that is you have to raise your motivation before you actually meditate. Raise your motivation. Ask yourself why you're doing it. There's other things you can do to raise your motivation as well. I don't want to get too much into that. You can meditate in a group, things like that. If you're 20 years old, 60 years old, 70, 80, it doesn't really matter. Meditating 10 to 15 minutes a day, once a day for a few weeks is great. But you shouldn't have any expectations that it's going to change your life in a big way. If it does, wonderful, but don't have that expectation. So we do this because it gives us greater sensitivity to our mind, our thoughts, which we can then notice during the day when things are not going, we don't feel well. We have to understand that. So we ask ourselves, where's my mind during the day? Can you simplify your life? Because the more you have going on, the more likely the mind will be running around. A famous quote, I don't know if it's famous, but it's a quote that I like to repeat, is by a master called Patrul Rinpoche. He was Lama Linang's teacher's teacher, one of those things. When you have a goat, you have goat problems. You got a lot of stuff going on in your life. Absolutely meditate, but the expectations shouldn't be out there like all of a sudden you're going to go from a lot of stuff going on to all of a sudden, oh, what peace, what quiet, what calm. Not going to work that way. So you may want to consider when you have a goat, You have goat problems. So it's a good way to look at your life. Okay, we're going to add something to the meditation practice now, which is adding appreciation and gratitude before you meditate. Say a phrase that shows your appreciation for something or someone, some aspiration that others can benefit. You can even 5 words, 10 words can be something like, may all sentient beings be free from suffering. Feel free to use that if you want. I didn't make it up. Um, Whatever 7, 10 words you want. That now why, and you can start with yourself if you want, but eventually you have to have some kind of aspiration or benefit for someone else. May the war in Israel and Gaza come to an end, something outside of yourself. My question for you is why do I or other teachers suggest that? Why? And I'll give you a clue. Well, I'm not going to give you a clue. I'm not giving you any clues. Tired of giving you clues. Why do I suggest that? And it's not, I hate to say we're I. Why do my teachers suggest that? There we go.
So I think gratitude and appreciation opens up your heart,
Okay.
and that in turn opens up your mind for as you meditate. So you have something to appreciate. So as you open up and give space, you allow space to come in. Is that? At least that's what I think.
A plus, A plus plus. You get A plus because you were brave enough to speak. And I give you an extra plus because you're actually right. So there you go. No one else gets an A plus plus, only Rose. And I noticed your dog, by the way, was watching. You let your dog watch the computer as well, because I saw your dog was watching us.
There's 3 of them,
Oh, there's 3 of them. Okay.
and 2 of them meditate. So
Of course. That's why it's like, oh, what's going on? They're talking about meditation. Oh, I should pay attention to that. Okay. So I'm going to say your words a little bit differently, which is we get a chance to get out of our self-centered thought process and mentality, which is kind of how we live. Okay. Well, everyone except me, of course. So what does that mean? We have as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have a very fixed mindset. We're focused on me, I. My opinion. I'm right, they're wrong. This is my house, my car. Yours is over there. Da da da. So that fixed mindset is the crux of the habit we're trying to break. So when we have an aspiration that is, oh, may the homeless people be free from suffering. Guess what that does? That is a antidote for that fixed mindset, for that fixed self-centered mindset. It sets the tone and seeds for being open-minded, for recognizing that everything's impermanent. And those last 6 words are synonymous with creating good karma. So we want to start on that now. And notice what I didn't say. I didn't say, oh, we want to be kind. That's great. You want to do that? That's great. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm very selfish. I want to do something only if it's going to practically help me. So I'm sharing with you now that I know by being a more open-minded person, less self-centered, having a better understanding of impermanence, et cetera, I know that's better for me. So I'm sharing with you, that's something we want to add to the beginning and to the end of your meditation. Takes about 10 seconds. Let's see if we can carve out 10 more seconds out of our life. At the end of the meditation, you can say something like, gee, I hope whatever benefit I get, I hope others can benefit too. Whatever simple words you make up will work. Okay. Recap. So we talked about the Four Noble Truths last time. Four Noble Truths were we suffer, or we have dissatisfaction, disappointment, whatever words you want to use. There's a cause for it. We already talked about the cause. It's this craving, this attachment, this desire, the sense of permanence, the sense of self-centeredness. Third noble truth is we can stop it. And the fourth one is here's how we went through the noble eightfold path. I'm not gonna go through that again. Um, we shared the two arrow story, which is pain is inevitable. The Buddha does not talk about avoiding pain. He says even enlightened beings feel pain. What is inevitable is that second arrow, which is all this stuff that goes on. Oh, what's so unfair? I can't believe I felt the pain. I feel that this is happening to me, not happening to that person. Who did that? Did you do that? Who's responsible? All that. Ba, 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 ba. That's the kind of stuff. That's the second arrow. We're getting rid of that. It's gonna fade over time. We talked about emptiness and impermanence, big topic in Buddhism. I've narrowed it down to like 5 words. Impermanence, nothing lasts forever. 3 words. Emptiness goes further. Nothing, no thing has any inherent independent essence. So every sensory and cognitive experience depends on our mind's interpretation. If I look at a tree, you look at a tree, we're both going to look at it differently. I read an article on politics, you read an article on politics, we're going to look at it very differently, maybe, or someone else. So what appears to us is not the thing in itself. It's a mental image. It's a concept. We had the experience of the elevator example. 2 people in the elevator gets stuck. One person gets angry, upset, pissed off, whatever, screaming, yelling, irritated, annoyed. The other one's like, oh, what a great opportunity for me to sit in quiet, listen to my music, meditate. In that sense, the world as you know and experience it arises from our mind's projections. I have another story to share that I heard this week, which I thought was fun. Guy wakes up it's a Taoist story, so it's kind of related to Buddhism. Guy wakes up in the morning and he remembers the night before he left his axe, because it's Taoism. Everyone here has an axe, I'm sure. Left his axe downstairs in the basement, goes downstairs in the basement, can't find it. Goes outside and he sees the neighbor's son walking around. He goes, oh, that guy, something suspicious about him. That guy looks like the guy. He looks like someone that would steal my axe. That's the guy. And for days and days, he sees the guy. Yeah, that guy, he looks so guilty. That's the guy. I know it. I just don't. Yeah, see how he walks. And then, of course, a few days later, he has to go down into the basement and he sees that his axe is there, but it's behind a chair. He didn't see it. And he finds his axe, comes back up, goes back outside, and he sees the guy and says, "Oh yeah, he doesn't look so guilty anymore. He looks like a pretty reasonable person." As like all Buddhist stories, it never ends where you think it's going to end. But that's the end of the story, which means how we look at things is really determined how we look at the world, how we experience the world. It's all up here. It's all up here. We use meditation, we use stories, daily reminders to realize that the world we cling to feels very solid, but it ain't so solid. It's all mind's creation. All right. And how do you know how you're doing in this class called life? How do you know? How do you measure it? How do you know how you're doing in life? Well, check yourself. Every time we have any negative experience, you can ask yourself, what was I taught in the past by others that had me have this whole fixed sense of how the world should be? What is the requirement I'm holding on to? Okay, changing topics, new topics. The self, the self. How do we define our self? I said, oh, what does the word self mean to you? How do you want to define that? Who wants to give it a try? Is it your body? Is it your brain? Anyone? How do you want to define the self? Who is it? Who are you? This portion here, this little segment here is actually one of the main differentiators between Buddhism and Hinduism. So is karma. So if you read about Hinduism and what preceded before it, the Vedas and Vedic traditions, things like that, there was a permanent soul that still believed that. That's okay. No problem. I don't, but they do. That's yourself. It goes from lifetime to lifetime. Permanent. Doesn't change. You can believe that if you want. I'm not going to dissuade that. But what do you think? How else would you define the self? This is a radical change.
Hi, Marty.
Hi.
I have an idea. Um,
Great.
I think the way I've thought about this a lot, the way I think of myself would be almost like a radio station instead of something more solid, more like a wave of potential that you can tune into, almost like when we're listening to the radio, right? We can turn into 92.5 and then get tired of listening to that, and we can tune into 106.7, right? And so all those are existing simultaneously, but it's just depending on what it is that you're tuning into. And I think that I always feel like we are our own little radio stations, and almost kind of like that frequency is what tends to give the electric charge to like a physical being when it's incarnated in life. I always think about it like that.
Yeah, I think that's
But it's
definitely
still
part of
not
the
permanent,
answer.
right?
No,
It can change.
I agree.
The frequency can change.
For sure. I agree. I think that's definitely part of the answer. I like that. Um,
I
anyone
was,
else? Yeah, go ahead.
well, I was going to share what I would think maybe most of us or I have experienced is describe myself as what I like, what I don't like, my opinions, not my opinions, my personality, where I come from. And I think that would be like my most, quickest response. I think most people would expect me to respond based on that way, because I think others would most likely define me in that way. Like, who she is, what she does, what she
Mhm.
likes, what she eats, and so on and so forth. So I think, I know that's not necessarily the Buddhist, but I think
No, that's part of it.
I would.
I agree. That's definitely, you guys are definitely on it. So I just put up on the screen here. It'll probably take a minute or so to come up. So let's do that. But basically, what the Buddha identified as the self, and hopefully it'll come up in a moment. Right now, I think you only see a black screen, right? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what the screen says, and hopefully it'll show up shortly. Is the Buddha explained that the self is a combination uh, of the following five components. One is something called form, the physical body, material phenomenon, and all these things are five changing components. We have a physical body. That's part of myself. We have these sensations, pleasant, unpleasant. That's obvious. It's part of myself. We have the ability to perceive, recognize, label. Okay. We have these, what they call mental formations, these thoughts, these intentions, these emotions, habits. And then finally, we have this awareness, this consciousness. So these are the five aspects of us, each one of us, that's constantly changing. And that is what Buddhists would say make up the self. They're impermanent, they're interdependent. It's not like, oh, here's the form and here's the sensations, here's the awareness. No, it's like that. They're all obviously mixed in as one. And together, they create the illusion of a coherent person or ourself. But when you start to examine it, there's no fixed entity here, just a dynamic, constantly changing process. Specifically regarding our mental formations, thoughts, emotions, and habits, I'm just going to read a couple of lines from the book. Our minds change from moment to moment. One moment, I think I am so smart, and then the next moment, I realize I was wrong. One moment, I am angry with someone, and the next moment, I'm not. I think someone is my friend, and then they take advantage of me. Our mind changes its opinions and preferences more often than we realize. When I learn something new, my mind changes. When new thoughts pop in and out of my mind my mind changes. So that's the self. The next topic is interdependence. Interdependence. So the Buddha had a cousin. His name was Ananda. And his cousin was one of his closest attendants. And he was someone who had a perfect memory. He was able to memorize and transmit the Buddhist teachings precisely. That was what he was known for. And he was also helped establish the nuns order. Initially, the Buddha did not want to allow nuns to become nuns. And he was able to convince the Buddha to do that. He served the Buddha for decades. 3 months after the Buddha passed, they held something called the First Council. They invited, I think it was 500, maybe 100, and I think it was 500 enlightened students of the Buddha who were going to do a review of all the Buddha's teachings. And Ananda, as the story goes, was not enlightened until the night before, and he became enlightened, so he was allowed to attend, which is a good thing because he was known for his perfect memory. And much of what we know today about the Buddha's teachings exists because of him. So when people asked Ananda, what does your teacher teach? He recited a very short summary verse of the Buddha's teachings on interdependence. And of course, it's going to take a few seconds to come up. But while it's coming up, I'll just read it to you in English. Of all phenomena that arise from a cause, the Tathagata has explained the cause, and he has explained their cessation. Such is the teaching of the great ascetic. So that, and I'll read it again. So basically, if someone said, who is your teacher? What does he teach? This is what he said. Of all the phenomena that arise from a cause, the Tathagata has explained the cause, and he has explained their cessation. Such is the teaching of the great ascetic. So basically saying everything that arises due to causes and conditions, causing what causes that suffering and how those causes end, and ending the causes leads to the cessation of suffering, otherwise known as nirvana. And Tathagata means the Buddha, one who's awakened to reality exactly as it is. So this concept of interdependence is very important. No one, no thing stands alone by itself. I think it was Carl Sagan, I don't have the quote in front of me, said something like, if you want to bake a pie from scratch, you have to create a universe first. Interesting. Carl Sagan, I don't think he was Buddhist, but still, he understood. So, yeah, any thoughts or comments on that? It's not something that we would normally think about, but nevertheless, it is a very primary concept in Buddhism, this concept of interdependence, that we're all connected in some way, shape, or form. And in fact, this prayer is said at the end, as some of you know, at the end of many Tibetan Buddhist practices. So some of us say this prayer in Tibetan once or twice a day. That's a lot. That's actually how it shows how important this concept is because we're saying it constantly. Constant reminder. What Ananda's answer was to someone said, what does your teacher teach? Short version is, oh, he teaches interdependence. Okay, let's pull it all together. Understanding the absence of a fixed self isn't just philosophy, it's liberation in practice. Clinging to things, people, places, my house, my country, what I want is what causes suffering, causes separation from the rest of the world, or a tug of war between me and other. That's where interdependence comes in. But really, when you directly see that the self is impermanent and empty, and that the mind can be trained, that there's less attachment, less fear, less defensiveness. The boundary between me and others starts to fade, becomes transparent. It's an illusion. So Let's talk about reality. Reality is, oh, my car was stolen. Horrible, horrible. So we can practice that. Just as an example, we can practice, oh, okay, why do I feel so bad about it? Okay, you can look on your list of requirements and identify respect, fairness, not being treated well, blah, blah, or whatever it is. And then take a couple breaths. Then what do? You still go and solve the problem. You contact the police, your insurance company, shop for a new car. A lot of time, you still have to do stuff, but you do it without the second arrow. Plus, maybe it was a good thing. Maybe if your car wasn't stolen and you got into it, you might have gotten into a car accident, you would have died. Well, what's better? It's better. My car was stolen or I could have died. Let me think about that. We just don't know. You just don't know. So you can think about this. It's a way to reframe something so you can identify that maybe, the story, the good luck, bad luck, maybe story, the Zen Master Farmer. I'm not going to retell it somewhere in the book, but good luck, bad luck, maybe you just don't know. That's why awakening and liberation and freedom and nirvana is often described as realizing the selfless nature of all phenomena. If everything changes from moment to moment, ourselves included, and we have these fixed, permanent views of ourselves or others, that causes suffering. Holding on to fixed, permanent views causes our suffering. We're clinging to an illusion. How good can that possibly be? So these types of understandings, together with the daily meditation, during the day use of our tools, can help liberate us. So my next topic is we're going to dive a little bit into karma. Before we do, I want to do another 5 minutes of our meditation. I'll walk us through it. Some of you haven't been here before, so I'll give you the directions. I'll give them to you twice. The first time, just so you know what world we're talking about. And the second time, I'll do it as we meditate. So the meditation is going to be observing our natural breathing. That's it. Very simple. We're not going to change our breath in any way, shape, form. You'll start to notice after you close your eyes. You can close them now or you can wait. Doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter. That some of your breaths are deeper, some are shallow, some are long, short. They're all different. You'll notice sometimes there's a pause between the breaths. Great. We're strictly observers. And then after you do an inhale and an exhale, you'll count the number 1. There'll be another pause. Great. Another inhale, exhale. It'll come whenever it comes. You count the number 2 in your mind. You don't say it out loud. Then you make your way all the way up to 10. Get to 10. You go back to 1. If you get distracted, you find out, oh, I've been talking or thinking or whatever, no problem. Just go back to 1. You lose track, no problem. Just go back to 1. We're going to have fun with it. And I'll watch the clock so you don't have to worry about that. Go for about 5 minutes and I'll repeat some of those directions again. So for now, we're sitting up nice and tall. We're nice and relaxed. Close your eyes. And just start to observe the air that is passing through your nostrils. Notice the inhale and exhale. Maybe your chest is expanding and contracting. Start to notice that each inhale and exhale are slightly different. That's beautiful. It's the air that is keeping you alive. And then after you do an inhale and exhale, you're going to count the number 1 in your mind. And then after the next one, the number 2. And so on until you get to 10. You get to 10, go back to 1. You never make it to 10, that's totally fine. You get to 3, you get distracted. You lose track, fall asleep, whatever happens. And you become aware, just go back to 1. Let's just enjoy the next 5 minutes. Slowly open your eyes. Come back into the room. Okay, so let that go. Comments, questions? Okay, well, it's time for the midterm exam. Here's the midterm exam. What happens if when you're meditating, you hear a sound that bothers you, that distracts you? What do you do?
Are you asking about a sound that continues or just a sound that might, get you out of meditation?
A sound that sounds like this. I'm joking. Any sound.
I just acknowledge it. Bye-bye. Okay,
And
let
then
it go.
let
Let
it
it go.
go. And then what do you do? What if it continues?
That's a little bit harder for me. I'd have to work on that a bit.
Okay. Let's make believe that we're all doing the same meditation. I know some are doing different meditation. That's totally fine. No problem. If you have a meditation practice, feel free to do whatever you normally do. But for now, let's make believe we're all following the count. And you hear a sound. The guy next to you, right next, I could see the person right next to you right here, and you hear him breathing throughout the whole 5 minutes. What do you do?
Actually,
He's right next to you. I can see it. I can see the guy
yeah,
right next to you right here.
that might
Probably
be
hear him all the
relaxing.
time.
That might be relaxing. If he's, yeah, maybe I'll follow his breath pattern. I don't know.
Okay. All right, good. Something to think about. Anyone else want to jump in there? What do you do?
Hi, what I do is I just, when there is an annoying sound, I just said that sound is gonna make me deeper and deeper relax.
What if it, okay, what if it's really annoying?
If
Think
I
about
can
it.
turn it off, I get up and turn it off. I go
Okay.
back to meditate.
Oh, I don't want to give you credit for that answer. It's probably right, but I'm not going to give you credit. You can't get up. I have to add that on now. Thank you. Okay. Anyone want to? What? Okay, you're doing your count. I'll give you 1 second, Joanne. You're doing your count, doing the best you can. You make it up to 8. You've never made it up to 8 before. This is a new world record for you, a new personal best, and you hear a sound. What do you do? Go ahead, Jan.
Me?
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
I have a situation where I've got some dogs that bark incessantly.
I don't know
And
anything about that. I don't know
oh,
anything about that. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, I hope you don't. It's terrible, but I have really had to work on myself. So I send them love, and it seems to help me because I've thought about harming them, but I would never harm an animal. I want to harm the owner, but I wouldn't do that either. But
Okay, so
I'm
you're gonna
sending love.
so you made it up to 8. You're
Yeah,
setting a new personal world record here, and you decide to change your meditation and send some dogs love.
yeah, to get
That's yours.
myself out of the
Okay.
aggravation and then start over.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay, okay. Anyone else? Okay. For those of you that are new to meditation, if you meditated before and you had a practice, no problem. Do whatever you do. I'm not going to interrupt that. But for those of you that are new, if you get distracted, just go back to 1. Very simple. You find out you've been thinking for 82% of your 12, 15, 20 minutes. No problem. Just go back to 1. That's the game. We don't want to be distracted. So it's a very simple meditation. Most of you failed the exam, by the way, but that's okay because you're going to have a final exam. Who knows when the final exam is? This is another test question right now. Who knows when is the final exam? Do I have to start calling on some of the people that are in the song already?
When we die?
I was gonna
Very
say,
good.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what I
the
was.
moment before you die.
Yeah,
that's the
That's
final
your
exam.
final exam.
the
Yeah.
life, the life review.
Right. And here are the directions for that moment. Don't be distracted. And just to kind of jump ahead a little bit, those of us that believe in afterlife, and there's a period of time after we die called the afterlife of the bardo, before you're reborn. You know what the directions are for being in the bardo? Don't be distracted. Okay, we have another 10 minutes or so. We're going to jump a little bit into karma. So, karma, I know this is not part of the reading, but it's those of you that are go-getters, I know, jumped into karma, into the chapters, the whole 5 pages. Karma literally means action, can refer to actions of the body, actions of speech, actions of the mind, thinking that we perform. And we use the words, especially in the West, you missed the train because of your karma. Oh, you got that happened to you because of good karma, or he's got bad karma. It's probably true whenever someone says that, but that's barely scratching the surface of what is going on. Karma is known as the law of cause and effect. Karma is based on your intention or motivation. My favorite story is I'm going to write a check for a donation, $100. And to the school down the block over here, I heard they need some food for the kids. But the main reason I'm going to write it is I know at the end of the year they publish a program and they're going to put my name there in the donor section for $100. My neighbor, I know my neighbor only gives 50. So I'm going to look pretty good. That's important to me. That's one option. And many people are like that. Sometimes we are, right? Another option is, oh, those kids, they really need the food. I don't want to give them a check for $100. I wish I could give them more. Okay. So there's a big difference in karma. Big between we look at the intention or the motivation. So the first case, very selfish, self-centered. Second case, just the opposite. Selfless. Big, huge difference. I wish things were that simple. Because the reality is, when you start to ask yourself the question, which I hope you can ask yourself going forward, is why am I doing this? The answer is usually pretty complicated. There's usually a few different motivations going on. Some of them a little selfish, some of them a little self-centered. But we need to start identifying that. So there's 3 parts to karma. If I'm generous, I am more likely to be generous again, creating a habit. If I am generous, someone is more likely to be generous to me. And the third one is if I'm a generous person, I'm more likely to be in an environment where there's generosity. Okay, let's look at another example. If I am someone abuses their family and their wife, or the husband, the wife abuses the husband, what's more likely to happen? They're more likely to do it again. You see someone hitting their wife, or you hear about it, and then you see it on TV all the time. Oh, I'm never going to do it again. You know, by the end of the movie, he's going to do it another 5 times till she almost dies. So that's reality, which is if you're going to be a child beater, whatever it is, you're more likely to do it again. You're more likely to be in that situation where someone abuses you, and you're more likely to be in that environment. If you shoot a gun, if you shoot someone, you're more likely to shoot someone again. You're more likely to be shot, and you're more likely to find yourself in that kind of environment. If you're violent, whatever words you want to fill in, there's those 3 parts to it. So another way to define motivation is by looking at the intention and asking yourself, is it self-centered or selfless? That's how you could determine good karma or not so good karma. We recently, won't get into too many details here, but my wife owned a very large company one time, and we were some stuff left over. We wanted it, we wanted it out of the house, and we didn't want to see it ever again. So we donated it to a children's artistic program in San Diego. True story. And we were talking about it today because we had some more things to donate. And my wife said to me, did we get good karma on that? You know, we made a donation. I said, well, kind of. But the fact of the matter is, our primary motivation is we wanted it out of the house. We got a tax deduction for it. It happens to benefit children, which is great, but that was not our first primary. It was not, to be honest with you. So, not so much good karma there. Maybe a little bit, because I could have thrown it out too. That would have been bad. So I'll give myself a little karma. So a little good karma there. So self-centered versus selfless. Here's another way to look at it. And now you're getting a feel for how different karma really is, how sophisticated it really is compared to when someone says, oh, he's got good karma. Not so simple, not so simple. The more fixed and permanent our views are of ourselves or others, creates negative karma. The more open-minded we are about ourselves, others, creates positive karma. That is the essence. Those two are the essence of karma. Open-mindedness, selflessness, self-centered, permanent fixed views. It's me, my. I'm always right. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I know. I know. No, it's not. I know. That kind of mentality. Very different than, well, maybe. Well, maybe. Possible, sure. It is possible. Yeah, maybe. That open-mindedness creates positive karma. So as you monitor your thoughts, your speech, your action, you can ask yourself, what is my motivation? Is it totally self-centered at the expense of others? Well, then you can check yourself and see, gee, how should I change my speech? How should I change my thoughts, my actions, so it's not that self-centered? Well, maybe I shouldn't do that. So see if I can bring it up quickly. One of my favorite quotes by the Buddha. I'll read it while it takes 10 hours to come up on the screen. Karma follows you like a faithful shadow. One moment informs the next moment. Karma follows you like a faithful shadow. One moment informs the next moment. Literally. There we go, up on the screen. And when we start to talk about rebirth, which is a bunch of chapters from now, we start to talk about death and dying, that is going to become really important. Because how you live your life now, what your thoughts are now, are going to inform your thoughts and how you live in the next moment, in the next day, week, month, year, even when you die. And if you're concerned, as I am, about how you die and the afterlife and the bardo and your rebirth, some of us don't believe in that. That's okay. I do. Then you want to start now. Don't wait for the final exam to start cramming for the final exam. These habits are not that simple to break, as we know. Good. Any thoughts, comments, questions on anything that we've talked about so far? You know, we're kind of moving pretty quickly. I'm about to assign the homework, which I think you kind of get the idea what the homework is before I assign it. Thoughts, comments, questions on anything?
I have a
Please,
comment.
hi.
I think one of the things I struggle with is having good intentions or positive attitudes toward individuals who cause harm to others. And, we're in the midst of a society where we see that a lot. And trying to take the perspective of those individuals is a challenge. And I haven't really figured out how to kind of rationalize
Great.
it.
Great. So I think would we agree, and we may not, so you don't have to answer the question, that we really don't want to harm anyone. I'll speak for myself. Now, God forbid something, okay, we don't really want to harm anyone. Even if they do something that we really don't approve of, that was really horrible. We don't want to harm them. We just wish they would just stop and hopefully learn from it. And if they feel badly about it, that's even better. So the question you can ask yourself about people who do some of the things that we read about in the newspaper, that we think is just really terrible and hurting others, we can ask ourselves some of the following questions. One is, are those people suffering? I would say absolutely. Number two is, how did they learn that? Are they, how did they learn? Well, they probably learned it in their childhood or growing up. They were probably suffering along the way, and this is just a result of their suffering. So my view is, I wish that they would change their behavior, but I don't want them to have any harm. In fact, I want them to be free from suffering. I want them to be truly happy, because if they were, they probably wouldn't continue on with that behavior. So that's kind of how I look at it. I'm not going to reward them. I'm not going to vote for them again. I wish they would stop. But as individuals, you can look at it and say, they're really suffering. It's really a reflection of their suffering. And they probably had a very difficult life. And they probably, those, I mean, without getting to names or anything like that, even a lot of these billionaires walking around, they're not happy. They are happy for a moment when they make more money, they win something, they achieve something, but it's very short-lived. They're on a cycle. It's constantly attached. That's not joy, freedom, happiness. They're living in their own hell. They're gods in some way, but they're also living in their own hell. So they're suffering. So that's kind of how you can look at it. Not that easy, especially when people do some really horrible things. But that's how you can look at it. Not to justify it, but because that's reality. I'm not trying to make up a story here. That's what I truly believe is happening here. People they are suffering. And sure, we have this illusion. Oh yeah, but he's got millions and billions of dollars. Oh yeah, he's got the jet, and it's like, yeah, okay, great. He can have that. I'd rather have freedom and liberation. So that's something to think about. Not that easy to swallow. I know. We try. Do the best you can. Good question. Any other thoughts, comments, questions on anything? Okay, homework this week, same as last week. Pretty exciting, huh? Meditate, please. Oh, how do you get better at meditation? That's another trick question. How do you get better at meditation?
By doing it.
That's absolutely right. By doing it. Thank you. I do it. I do it every day. I still want to get better. What do I do?
Good
Raise
luck.
your motivation.
Raise your, that's good. You think, I never thought about that. I like that. That was not my answer, but that's absolutely true. Raise your motivation. What else can you do?
You can turn to meditation when you don't know what else to do.
That's good. That's absolutely good. The way I would phrase it is you can do it for more minutes. You can do it more times a day.
Mhm.
There you go. But I like raising motivation. That was good. Ties right into the earlier part of the class. Good. So we're going to meditate at least once a day. You want to do 5 minutes, do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 10, whatever it is, you do it, you get an A, you don't do it, you don't get a grade, you do it twice, you get an A plus. You already know that already. And then try to use your meditation tool, your awareness during the day. The moment you feel some kind of annoyance, irritation, anger, jealousy, whatever it is, ask yourself the question, gee, what is it that I took on? It's on my list of requirements growing up as an adult that's being trampled on or violated. And add to your requirements. Oh, that's not, oh, something happened. Oh, I got that. Let me add, that's going to add it to my requirement list. I write it down. I got a list of about 30 requirements. Requirements are sometimes in conflict with each other. They're in illusion. Sometimes you learn always be on time. Sometimes you learn it's okay to be late. So it's like, okay, what do? You're in a lose-lose situation. And then the last thing is read chapters 8, 9, and 10. Chapters 8, 9, and 10. If you have any questions that I didn't answer, you don't want to ask here, no problem, just send us an email, and then happy to respond by email. Only 2 people see that email. Okay. Thank you so much. Good to see everyone. See you in a week or so.
Thank you, Morty. That was
Great
really
week.
wonderful. Thanks
Good.
so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you guys. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.